Saturday, end of the week, and welcome to a new edition of Jocks and Pigskins. I'm your host, Tom Pollen, and alongside me is Wanda Weidman.
Good morning.
And a full show again for you this week. Start with taking a look back at that exciting Thursday night Buccaneers-Falcons game, which ended up just being crazy, and discuss some of the other NFL surprises that stand out to us and you. I want to know what you have to say about what you think has happened in the NFL. We're at the quarter pole heading into the clubhouse turn. Yep. And 4 games in. Amazing.
It's crazy.
Just kicked off, for crying out loud. And so what surprises you so far about the NFL season? And we'll have our opinions, and we want to hear what you have to say. So keep the comments coming. Also, Nostradamus here with your best bets for the Week 5 action. And Nostradamus is now 10-3 straight up with his best bets, 7-5 against the spread. Can't seem to get that perfect weekend going against the spread, but we'll see. We'll try and do it again this week. I guess head right into our topics. Thursday night, incredible game, incredible comeback win by the Falcons, 36-30 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I don't know, it looked like the game was going to be – looked like there wasn't a high enough – number as far as total points were going in that game after the first half, but
right,
settled in the second half. But again, Kirk Cousins doing what Kirk Cousins was brought in to do.
Exactly. Yeah,
I haven't heard many Falcons fans calling for Michael Penix to step in as the Falcons quarterback lately.
That became very quiet once they saw Kirk go put it into gear, and
yes,
and now they're winning games. Now, who's Michael Penix?
Yeah, so I don't let them learn, let them sit on the bench, but
I think it's a great lesson. I think it's a great lesson for Penix to see, especially the last 2 minutes, to see what you do in the 2 minutes and not panic and get the ball to your playmakers and move the ball down the field.
Yeah.
So I think they really Kirk Cousins is showing what he can do in the moments when you need to win, a must-win situation. And this is a great teaching method for Penix to learn as he goes along.
Really is. So, and I hope he's getting a lot out of it.
Yeah.
But Cousins currently on top of the NFL in passing yards.
Yeah.
He is settled in with his receivers. And again, it's taken a couple of weeks. It took a couple of weeks because he didn't get any preseason time. But he's really settling in with that offense finally and looking good. Let's see. But again, second half, both calmed down, both kind of got into the game. Overall, Cousins passed for 509 yards. But one of the things I'll say is that's not sustainable.
No.
Rushed 18 times for 73 yards, 4.1 yards per attempt, and it just has to be better.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be because you have a power back in Bijan Johnson, and allowing him to just have that amount, and that's a split between Bijan and Algiers.
Yes, it is.
So that's a split amount, and for them to be sustainable in that, it's not going to work because obviously defenses going forward are going to focus on now shutting down the passing game, which it's got to be balanced. And you have these two really good running backs that you need to balance in the game and can alternate both back and forth if need be. But at least use that to your advantage and not just I was watching Bijan trying to block. I can't remember who the defender was. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
he got. He's like 3 times bigger than Bijan, and he just bulldozed him. It was like, what are you doing? It just wasn't.
Oh, that was Vita Vea.
Yeah, Vita Vea. And it's like, why would you put him in that position? Your big power back in that position where he could have been hurt and out of the game. Now you're going to rely on the passing game, which is going to ruin them down the line if they're out of their running backs because they're putting them in dangerous, situations. So they need to do better there, I think.
Oh man, yeah, I saw that. That was sad. That was just too bad. Yeah. I felt terrible for Bijan. Yeah, I mean, at least Tyler Algier would have a chance in that position, but yeah, right. Vita Vea, no. Robinson's never going to win that matchup. No. Oh man, so, but yeah, I mean, amazingly, he still managed 8 yards net passing yards per attempt, which is very good.
Yeah.
But, so far, in games where quarterbacks have thrown for over 300 yards this season, and there's only been 13 of those games, teams have only won 6 of them. So if you can't rely on the pass for your entire offense. That's not going to be sustainable. And I don't know what you can do. This is supposed to be a better offensive line, and so far it's not established. I don't know if that's coaching. I don't know if that's, they're having problems executing so far, but offensive line has to be better.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
2 100-yard receivers, Drake London and Darnell Mooney, who seems to be really kind of getting on the same page with Cousins. They're working very well together. You
can see that they've got a really good relationship because even after when they were going into halftime, you see Mooney and Cousins walking together and talking about the last play. So obviously that's his security blanket. He's depending on Mooney, which after a while it's not, he's got to continue to spread the ball with, you've got London and Pitts which by the way, when you watch Pitts go up the seam, it's perfect and he catches the ball. They need to continue doing that with him to move the ball to Pitts. He's still not being utilized as he should be.
No, he's not.
They're using Mooney a lot.
The problem is Pitts is not a blocking tight end. He's a receiving tight end.
Right.
Could he improve his blocking? Yeah. But, that's not why you brought him in. But Zach Robinson's offense does not run through the tight end like that. And I think Zach Robinson needs to adjust. I think Pitts needs to adjust too, but Robinson needs to adjust to his personnel, figure out what his personnel can do. And that's what Pitts does, is get free, through the seam, kind of between the linebackers and safeties, and let them, decide who's going to cover him. But that's how he receives the ball. Yeah. Don't try and fit the guys into your system. Fit your system around your talent.
Right.
And I've said that repeatedly, and, it's frustrating. But, Mooney caught 9 passes, 16 targets, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns. London caught 12 of his 13 targets for 154 yards. So, that big target, I think Cousins is enjoying too, having that big receiver, a guy who can go up and catch the contested ball if he needs to.
Yeah.
So, it's working out well, but again, where's that running game going to come from? It's got to come from somewhere.
It has to. Yep.
So, but I know you have a couple of thoughts on Mooney still. So,
Yeah, Mooney, he's been improved in his catching. So you could see that it's been coming towards him, and he's been catching them. But there were several drops. The last pass there that was towards it was a complete drop. So there are occasions where he made catches that were just incredible in the small window that he was given, and he got the ball and was able to zip through, but he still has to work with those catches. What I did notice is Mooney's problem is sometimes in those long passes he tends to catch him in his chest, and that's what is his downfall. When he catches him in his chest, he drop. It's not a solid catch, obviously, and he's going to drop it every time. That's one area he needs to really work on. He can be an elite, like Justin Jefferson type, if he can work on that.
Yes,
he's easily going to have over 100-yard games every single game.
Yeah,
and he's going to have himself over 1,000-yard season if he can continue to do that. But he really has to work on stopping the body catches in that situation when they're long like that, and get a really good position. So they're going to have to practice that a lot. I think that's something they have to focus on. But other than that, he's really improved. He's found his groove, and I'm really happy for Mooney for getting that chance. And Kirk believes in him enough to where he's got a good relationship.
Yeah, he does, and that's really nice to see. Because I'm glad to see Mooney get this opportunity too.
Yeah.
It just was not working out with the Bears, and he was not on the same page with Justin Fields.
No.
Got very frustrating for him here in Chicago, and I think he's made something for himself in Atlanta. He can do more. Like, he came down with a contested ball for his for a touchdown.
Yeah, he did.
And he's got to, you're right, he's got to have more faith in his hands and quit trying to draw the ball into him and let his hands do the work.
Exactly.
And I think so. But Falcons, we're going to talk about surprises after, 4 games into the season. Falcons 5 games in, but we're heading into week 5 action. Quarter of the season gone, and I don't think it's happened the way Falcons fans expected it to happen, but they are in first place. They own the tiebreakers against the Saints and the Buccaneers right now. And I think we kind of expected them to be fighting for first place.
Yeah.
But we thought that first game over the Steelers was going to be a win, but that was a rough game. But they beat the Eagles. So they're kind of where we expected them to be at this point in the season.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're pretty consistent.
But, and we'll see what happens. Well, we'll see what happens. They get to play Carolina, so they'll have a game against each one of their NFC South rivals. And so I think, they're in great shape so far to compete. And you got to like what you see. So
if Cousins continues in the way that he's playing, there's no doubt that they'll have a winning season, and they'll get that opportunity. Whether they can go all the way, it all depends on the play calling and how they utilize their players, and and Cousins staying healthy.
Yeah,
which was something that I don't know if you noticed it, but when he played prior to his Achilles, his right foot was always flat when he would step back on his right foot. But if you noticed in the game, his right foot was not flat. It was lifted up a little bit. So he's still having issues in trusting his foot and maybe feeling that he still can't. But I noticed towards the last part of the game, he started putting his foot down, and that's when he started zipping those balls straight in. So I think now that he's trusting, once he starts getting that comfortable, you're going to get that same Cousins that played with the Vikings and had those winning seasons. So
that's a hell of an observation. No, I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah.
And that's very interesting. As I say, interesting observation because, yeah, if he could start trusting that foot, and it's, sounds like he's doing that, against Tampa, there's no telling where this offense can go.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's going to be going to be fun to see. It's going to be fun to watch the Falcons play offense. As we continue through the season. My problem with this team is they are still not getting a pass rush. 28th in blitz percentage. So they're not sending pass rushers a majority of the time. But they're 29th in hurry percentage, 17th in knockdown percentage, 31st in pressure percentage, and tied for last in the NFL with 5 sacks. So, somehow Matt Judon is not getting it done for this Falcons team. And somehow they have got to find a way to continue to generate or try and get a pass rush generated from somewhere because it's not happening. I don't know if it's Jimmy Key's defense. William Amy says, pass rush.
Yeah, it does.
You better believe it. So I don't know what it is. I don't know why Jimmy Key has decided not to send extra men, not to add an extra men to the pass rush, but he's not getting it done with his, with the linemen, with 4-man rush or 3-man rush, or he's got to generate a pass rush somewhere in there, because that's the one thing that I think can kill this Falcons team is not being able to stop. My thing is always getting an offense behind the sticks somehow, any way you can. And that's by sacks. And you've got to generate that kind of pass rush. Mad Mike, great to see Mike here again today. Says, I'm not sure. I don't know, Ebiketie has to step up. And I am with you, Mike, but we have been waiting for Ebiketie to step up. I think this is his 4th season. Not quite sure. I would have to double check on that. But we've been waiting for Ebiketie to step up for a while now. And it's been something that's been very frustrating. And I don't know. I'm beginning to wonder if he has another gear to, I don't know if he has another gear he could step into. I think we may have seen everything out of Arnold Ebiketie that he has to give. And I know he was expected to be a bigger impact in the pass rush when the Falcons drafted him. But it just makes
no sense because you have the talent. You have Justin Simmons and you have Judon and you have the talent there in Ebiketie. You have all this talent that's there. They should be able to draw some type of pass rush and pressure against an offense. And it's just been so lackluster. Or, with me, it's in some situations the play calling. It's like in some situations you're like, why aren't you putting the pressure? Why isn't the line tight? Why isn't there a blitzing? it's just non-existent, and you know that they can do better with the talent that they have. I think Jimmy needs to really reevaluate what he's doing in that defense and get them to come together, and be explosive.
And they got one more game until their bye week, and they can kind of examine things and how the season has gone.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, Ebiketie, he's only got 7 tackles, too.
Yeah.
So he's not even generating anything, on defense. And as I said, Atlanta is 28th in blitz percentage per dropback.
Yeah.
So they're not getting, with a standard pass rush, they're not getting anything. And I think they were expecting Judon to step up, but he hasn't so far. And Judon wanted to make this his show me year. This is what I could still do. This was going to be his prove it year, playing on the last year of his old contract, not looking for a restructure or an extension. And so far, he hasn't done much to generate a new contract. Definitely not in Atlanta. I don't know about anywhere else. So, but one thing, Mike, not sure what's going on. Maybe it's lack of blitzing.
Yeah.
And I would agree, Mike. Nate Landman is, I would agree. That's been a missing piece. Terry Ocean Boy Martin, pressure rates don't tell the whole story. Understandable, we need to fix it, but Atlanta defense bends but don't break. I will agree with you there. That's what they are doing. It's been a great bend but don't break defense. I think they've done well playing the standard defense with what they've been doing, but I still need to see a defense that can put an offense behind the chains and threaten to put an offense behind the chains. Might not do it all the time, but you've got to generate more than this. Let me look it up real quick.
I mean, Grady Jarrett has had 7 QB hits this so far, so he's obviously been trying to put the pressure. And Judon's had 3 QB hits. So they're. It's just that it obviously needs to be more. And like you and I have been talking about in our fellow followers and listeners here, it's I think a little bit more blitzing would be helpful and get that power in the front to put the pressures. The more pressure we put in offensive lines, the better the defense will come up in those moments. And I think that's huge, and that needs to be something that Jimmy Lake needs to really put in the play calling.
But you look at pressure percentages, Seahawks are at the top of the league right now, pressure percentage. Mm-hmm. Basically, hurries, knockdowns, sacks, per dropback. Vikings 34.3, 49ers 32.1. Cowboys are struggling, but defense 30.5. Now they're going to be losing Micah Parsons this week, which is going to be big. Chiefs 30.3. Guess what? Those are all teams that are winning. These are teams that are winning. These are teams that get to the quarterback. Vikings 17 sacks. Broncos 16 sacks. Broncos have been developing a hell of a defense. Now, if they could, if Knicks develops the way their defense has been running, it could be something. They could be building something fairly strong in Denver. So But Terry said definitely missing our star linebackers, Nate and Troy. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
They do anchor that defense, the middle of that defense for the Falcons, and it's a huge loss for to have both of them out. But you still got to find a way. You're losing them. You got to find a way. If it's you don't want to blitz, but sometimes you do have to.
Yeah.
And you can be an even better bend but not break defense. See, bend but not break is great if you can get an offense to make a mistake somehow. Either a penalty or a sack to put themselves behind the chains. You've got to force an offense to make that mistake. And that's kind of the key to playing a kind of bend but don't break defense. Forcing offenses into either punts or field goals.
Right.
But the key to be successful at it all season is putting a quarterback behind the chains, cutting down the playbook, cutting down the options on second and long, third and long. So it's been a problem. Terry also brings up, says pressures are down, but we have two erasers there in the secondary with AJ. And I agree. The secondary's been doing a great job. They have to because they're not getting any help. The secondary would be even better if you start getting more pressures. I'm surprised the secondary's done as well as they have so far. They start getting more pressures, and that secondary gets better. And that secondary might start getting more interceptions because now you're starting to force a quarterback to think. Mike mentioned thought blitzing would be a bigger part of the defense, especially with Mike Hughes playing better. Yeah, Hughes is playing much better. And I'm a little surprised too. But, Landman and Anderson coming back be, huge for this defense. But still, I thought blitzing would be a bigger part of the defense too. And it has to be because you're not getting a pass rush enough.
Right.
You're not forcing the quarterback to make a mistake.
Exactly.
So, your quarterbacks are doing well in coverage. Your cornerbacks, your linebackers, your secondary are making tackles. And you're holding teams down on offense. Well, neither team was playing defense in the first half on Thursday night. But see, to me, and I guess, being from Chicago, being a Bears fan all my life, a pass rush can cure a lot of ills on defense. And I think maybe that's where it comes from for me is, I'm used to seeing a pass rush. I'm used to seeing quarterbacks forced to do things they don't want to do and trying to get out of situations and making mistakes. And that's how you do it. And I have to see more out of the Falcons for that. But from what I've been seeing so far, it's been, if they can still fix some of these areas. And if they do, they get even stronger. So this isn't even a team playing at its peak yet. Maybe they are, and they're not even playing at their peak on offense with their running game. And they're not playing at their peak on defense because they're not getting the pass rush yet. So they're not playing at their peak, and they are leading the NFC South 3-2 record, but they have the tiebreakers right now. and they still have to hold serve when they go, and face the Saints here in Atlanta and face the Buccaneers in Tampa. But it's always great to know you have those tiebreakers in place. That's putting the pressure on your opponent.
Yeah.
So Brian's here. Great to see Brian. What a game. And 2-0 since we last spoke. Yeah.
That's right.
That's always the way to do it. And not just 2-0, 2-0 against division rivals.
Right.
But it's been interesting again. One of the things about the 2024 NFL season right now is the Falcons have gotten off to a strong start. Now we're 4 games in, heading into the second 4 games. You cut the season into 4-game increments, and we'll see how they do heading into their next set of games. Right. And I think they have the ability to make some noise moving forward.
Exactly.
Looking at other surprises in the NFL through the first 4 weeks of the season. I know there's a lot of things we didn't expect to be happening when we talked about our season predictions. But the Washington Commanders are at 3-1 and atop the NFC East. And rookie Jaden Daniels is looking pretty sharp at quarterback for Washington. He's really taken to the NFL game. He had a couple rough, a little bit of a rough start, but he's doing what the Commanders need him to do to get them victories. And a little surprised to see the Commanders up top and not the Eagles-Cowboys. Eagles-Cowboys are struggling. Commanders are playing pretty good ball right now.
Right.
So.
That'll depending on how. Now Daniels has been doing pretty well, but Kingsbury, in the way that he's play calling, are short passes, and just kind of spreading the ball and killing the clock. So the more time they spend on the field with the small passes and then spreading the ball out, including using a balanced run along that way, then they're able to win the games. Because it's not, I think we have to still put it in perspective that Daniels has only thrown 3 touchdowns. So it's not bad. It is 3 in the 4 games, so it's a touchdown each game except for the 1. And then what's surprising and I love about this kid is his preciseness in when he throws, because he only has 1 interception.
Mm-hmm.
And that's impressive. That's impressive for a rookie. So I think he is, with the way that it's working, seems to be working, but at some point defenses are going to figure this out.
Yes.
They're going to see, okay, we're going to have to cut that and force him to push the ball down the field.
Yes.
Farther. And as they do that, then they're going to trust their back end to halt that and stop it and try to do that, or try to put some pressure in him. So we'll see how long that lasts. Right now they're riding high on it, but it all depends on which defenses they come across and scheme coaches that can read this and figure it out. Because it's got to be the same. I think Cliff Berry was trying to do the same thing with when he was in Arizona, and that did not work.
Yeah.
So obviously we'll see what happens here and see if that is going to work, or they're back into, back to square one again. So we'll see.
Daniels, I looked up a couple of statistics before the show. He's near the bottom of the league in air yards per completion. So, he's not being asked to do a lot in this Washington offense. It's not like he's getting the ball downfield. they're relying on the short game, doing a very good job in the short game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. At some point, teams are going to be looking to cut that short game and force Daniels to make more throws.
Right.
And Washington's defense has got to get better. Their defense is one of the worst in the league all around against the pass and the rush. So you can beat Washington. Washington's not unbeatable. Right. And Daniels has had an impressive start, but I've always said defensive coordinators are not stupid. Yeah. They will figure you out eventually. They see enough game film on somebody, they'll figure you out. And I agree with you, Wanda. I think that they're going to start trying to cut off that short game and make Daniels make better throws, longer throws.
Right.
And we'll see how that develops. I can't wait. Let's see. Larry Orange. Great to see you, Larry. Haven't seen you in a couple weeks. Vikings and Commanders are surprises to me in the NFC. Yeah, the Vikings have really shocked me the way they've come out.
That's a shocker.
I don't think anybody expected Sam Darnold to be playing the way he is right now.
Yeah.
And because he hasn't up to this point. But
does that tell you about coaching?
Yes, it does.
He's been to how many teams, and then he comes over to the Vikings and gets the coaching that he needs, found out what it is that maybe he needed tweaking, and he's playing some really good football.
Yeah. Yeah, Kevin O'Connell has really worked well with him.
Yeah.
And of course, O'Connell being a quarterback's coach and an OC in his past, and very good with quarterbacks, and he's done a hell of a job with Darnold.
Yeah.
But that defense with Brian Flores I think is really just keeping that team moving. Brian Flores has that defense playing at another level right now. And I don't know how long you can keep it up, but defensive passer rating, Vikings are third. Defensive points per play first. Points per drive, they're in first. Defensive pass, yeah. So, let's see. 11th in net passing yards per attempt, but still overall, that defense, rushing yards per attempt, third at 3.8. No offense is going anywhere on this Vikings defense. And they keep playing like that. I think everybody expected the Lions to take control of the North Division, and it would be the Lions fighting it out with the Packers, with the Vikings and Bears in third and fourth.
Yeah. But
the Vikings have won. They've gone 4-0 straight up and against the spread, which is really an accomplishment so far this year.
Yeah.
So, to me, the Seahawks being on top of the NFC West at 3-1. Geno Smith is having a hell of a season. And it's been, and they've had their defense has come out very strong. So, but you got to like what Geno Smith is doing with that team, how they've gotten, Mike McDonald has that defense playing the way you expect the McDonald defense to play.
Right.
But, Geno Smith is really, he had a great season last year, but he's surpassing that so far this year. And this is a team that really is carrying a lot of injuries. So, so if they can get healthy, the Seahawks are going to be tough. Well, sounds like my neighbor just turned on the lawnmower, so hopefully you
No,
don't see too
I
much
don't
of
hear
that.
anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mike, not surprised by the Lions' struggles. Think the surprise element has worn off a bit, and that might be it, Mike.
Yep.
However, Goff had a perfect game against the Seahawks last Monday night. Just, the Lions' offense was incredible uh, against the Seahawks. And I think that was the first time the Seahawks defense has really taken a hit this year. The Lions figured them out pretty well.
Yeah, they couldn't stop the run. I mean, the Lions have two power backs.
Yeah,
So they couldn't stop. They either had to choose one or the other, and that's kind of how it worked out for them. So the Seahawks, it's something that they have to figure out. And the Seahawks are in the same situation, in the fact that they've got a power back in Walker. That guy is incredible. Um, just the way that he came off of an abdominal injury. They weren't sure how he was going to come into the game, and he did not disappoint whatsoever. So I think that's helpful for Gino, having that to be able to depend on him in that way.
yeah, I agree. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Seahawks hold on against the 49ers. 49ers have had their struggles this year. So I'm looking interested in that. In the AFC, Buffalo, they lost Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. And Josh Allen hasn't missed them. He's got the Bills at 3-1. He's only had one turnover all year, one interception.
Right.
Oh, no interceptions, one fumble recovery.
Oh, right.
One fumble loss.
Right.
So, but he has been doing an incredible job spreading the ball to his receivers. That he has. He doesn't have to feed a star receiver and doesn't have to make Stephon Diggs happy. He can feed the ball to whoever he wants, and he's been doing it. And that's been the key to that offense. It's been an amazing offense. So I like what the Bills are doing. They're playing great on defense too. So, and they're benefiting from the fact that the Dolphins are just falling off just completely falling off the table without Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback.
Now, I'm not sure how the Bills are going to do against the Texans, because we saw how the Bills did in the pressure when the Ravens hit them in pressure. Now you've got the Texans, who've got a pretty good defensive front, and the Bills are going to be without their star receiver in Shakir. They're going to be without Ed Oliver, defensive tackle, and Austin Johnson, and their safety Taylor Rapp. So they've got quite a few of their big players that are going to be out, especially in defense. That's a little bit worrisome on whether they're going to be able to hold back CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I agree. It is worrisome. It's going to be a rough game because I think the Texans are 3-1, but I think the Texans want to show that they're a better team than they've showed so far this year. They've struggled on offense.
Yeah.
So I think the Texans want to make a point in this game, and I think the Bills want to come back and kind of say, that wasn't us last week against Baltimore. Baltimore just used their running game and shot down. I mean, the Bills. The Bills couldn't hold them down.
Right.
So,
right.
Larry Orange says in the AFC, he's surprised by the Bengals. And Terry Ocean Boy Martin, you're right. The Bengals do start slow in their first 2 weeks. However, what we pointed out a couple of weeks ago, you start 0-3 in the NFL, in the modern day NFL, since the playoffs have been expanded, since the seasons have been expanded, no team has started 0-3 and gone to the postseason. And the Bengals are going to try and be the first team to do it this year. And I think they're capable of it on offense. I do not think they can do it on defense. I think their defense is going to let them down.
Yeah.
And
I just don't see them winning against Baltimore this week. I
Oh,
don't
no.
see that happening.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
Because, again, you can run against the Bengals. Hendrickson is injured. He's playing hurt. So, and that's a big key to their defense. But Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson just ran over Derrick Henry. And that game was basically over after Derrick Henry ran.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. It was his best game. It was really
I think
good.
Derrick Henry wanted to show people that, no, he's not washed up. He's still got some legs.
Yeah.
The thing about Derrick Henry is he's a pounding running back, but he's fast.
Yet it looks like he's running. It looks like he's running slow.
Yeah.
But he's really running fast. It's so odd, but I think it's because of his size that you don't realize it when you're watching. It's a big guy and you're like, oh, he's running slow, but he's actually running fast.
That guy, he is just incredible how you let him get out in the open space and you can't catch him.
Nope.
I don't care who's in your secondary. I don't care what kind of angle they're getting. You can't catch him. So,
yeah,
it's crazy. And kind of the last surprise for me heading into the second quarter of the season. But again, yeah, I think so, Brian, with Burrow and Chase. I agree. However, I don't think their defense is capable of keeping them in a playoff race. We'll see. I think their offense is, but they're going to have to count on that defense at some point, and I don't think they can do it. And again, they started 0-3, and Wanda and I talked about this after going into week 3. You start 0-3, you don't make the playoffs. So they're going to have to. They can't lose this week and still expect to make the playoffs. They have got to win. They can't afford too many more losses.
Yeah.
So, the last thing for me is Jacksonville is completely coming apart.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people think that Doug Peterson might be on his way out if they lose this weekend to Indianapolis. So I don't know what. And I've heard some people say that they don't think Trevor Lawrence is playing with confidence, which is a rough thing. He's your star quarterback. He's your first overall draft pick. If he's not playing with confidence, you got a problem.
Jacksonville should be able to beat Indianapolis if they really use the running game, use ETN a lot. They haven't been. He's almost been non-existent at times, but they have ETN and they have I forget the other.
Tank Bigsby's the other running
Bigsby, right? Tank Bigsby. If they can utilize both of them against Indianapolis, they can win this game. And then maybe he needs to go back to just shorter throws like what Washington's doing and get him back motivated into it and get them to at least win a game here. They can at least get that confidence going. They need to just win one game to start getting that confidence to move forward. But
Yeah.
if they continue in this slide, it's going to continue all the way through.
Yeah, it will. They're going to feel it all the way through the season.
Yeah.
Mike says, I think they've tuned Peterson out. You may be right, Mike.
Yeah.
You may very well be right. And the Eagles did before. So apparently, Peterson only lasts so long, and that is pretty much, you get what you can out of him, and then he's got to move on. And that might be the case here, is they have tuned Peterson out. But, Larry Orange has another good point before we go on to our picks. Thinks that the large contract is maybe wearing on Lawrence. And that's another pressure that maybe Lawrence wasn't ready for. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
where I'm sure I'm sure the Jaguars big personnel is thinking twice about that large contract, and maybe thought about it too much, going forward. But to try to perform and say, okay, you've been paid this much money. Now it's show me the money on the field, and that's not happening.
Not happening.
Yeah.
All right. Time for picks.
All right.
Nostradamus showing up 2-1 last week. But we're going to get Wanda's week 5 picks first. Wanda, who do you have winning in week 5?
Okay. Well, last week I was 0-3, was pretty bad. Normally I'm not, but I was.
Well, we all have rough weeks. I mean,
exactly. So this week 5, I've got Chicago versus Carolina. I think this is going to be on the Bears to win 27-18. I think they're going to actually have a running game this time. So I think that's going to show up this week. Green Bay versus the Rams. I've got the Packers winning this 29-23.
Okay.
The Rams defense is almost non-existent, so the score may even be higher, depending. But I see Jordan Love with his double team of Wicks and Reed. I think that you're going to pass that ball on the sidelines, and it's going to be and then they've got their tight end as well. So I think that the Packers are going to take this one. And then the Arizona and the 49ers. I think the 49ers are going to take this at 30-21.
Okay. All right. That's
all right.
I agree with some. I can't argue with those. I think you do a lot better this week.
I hope so.
But as I say, Nostradamus 10-3 straight up with my best bets of the week. 7-5 against the spread. Got to jack that up a little bit more, but I think I got some good picks this week. I am taking the Houston Texans. They are favored by 7.5 points, and I am taking them against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, Jaguars have come close to winning a couple of games, but I think the Texans want to make a point, want to put extra exclamation point in their season somewhere, and I think they do it this week. So, actually, that was what am I? I'm still looking at last week's games.
Yeah.
Houston won, but yeah. Okay, for this week, week 5, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong line on my picks. Texans was the only pick that I missed on last week. So I had the Bengals -4 versus the Ravens, Vikings +2 against the Packers. This week, taking the Ravens -2.5 at the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm with you, Wanda. I think the Ravens pound the Bengals into the ground. You can score on Baltimore, but they do have a decent defense. It's not terrible. It's getting better. And And I think the Ravens will keep it close, but I think Baltimore with that run game between, yeah, I know, Brian. As I said, I was reading the wrong line on my run. I got to be better about that. But I think they can, with Henry and with Lamar Jackson, through the air and on the ground, I still think the Bengals get beat this week. Oh, man. Yeah. I know, Chris. Joe Burrow is back. I'm texting you after that game. You do that. Go for it. I'm with you on that one. Go for it, Chris. So, but I'm taking them. The Green Bay Packers -3. They're only favored by 3 against the Los Angeles Rams. And I think they should be able to pretty much name their score against one of the worst defenses in the league. And the Rams have been terrible against the pass, against the run. And the Packers, with Love at quarterback again, now, reestablished as their quarterback, I think it's going to be a big win for Green Bay. The Los Angeles Rams problems continue. Rams still have too many players injured.
Yeah.
And it's just, the injury bug hit them hard, and I think it's going to cost them the season.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they're going to the playoffs. And I'm taking the Seahawks -6.5 at home against the New York Giants. Normally, I would be hesitant to pick a team that's on a short week that played a back-and-forth game against a quality team on Monday night against the Lions. However, the Giants don't have Neighbors and Singletary. Neighbors is out with a concussion. Singletary is doubtful. So questionable means they're probably going to play. Doubtful, that's a bigger injury designation. That's tougher to see.
Right.
But I think the way the Seahawks are playing on offense with Geno Smith and on defense, defense doesn't slump. So, I like that. I see the same thing for the Falcons. Defense doesn't slump. Get that defensive front figured out. So, but I think that's the way it's going to be for the Seahawks over the Giants. I like that. And
I like it.
That's my picks for the week. So, again, run out of time. Had a lot of fun this week. Had a lot of fun with all the interaction this week from the fans. And it's always great to get a lot of comments in and talk back.
Yeah, we really do enjoy it. We really do enjoy it, yeah.
So, going to be a fun slate of action this weekend. I'm looking forward to see how things turn out. I still have to write my overall Nostradamus article for my WordPress site. So footballfromatoz.com. And, as I say, I was 9-7 against the spread overall last week. So starting to pick up a little bit. And one of the things I take pride in is I have always been over 500 against the spread every season, except, last season was terrible for me. So I'm trying to overcome that and get back on the bike and start speeding away with those against the spread picks. But again, great week. Wonderful to have all of you here. We do appreciate you very much. Appreciate people who catch this broadcast on the replay.
Thank you.
And looking forward to talking to you next Saturday. Everyone, have a great week.
Have a great week.